Welcome again. Now, the next thing that you're going to do in this particular session is now to ensure that after starting our application and ensuring that our database is set by the test containers and we are able to establish connection, you need to start writing tests for this particular method. All right. So to do that, we are going to go to the department repository, and you can see now the class under test is going to be the department repository. So we need to have this, and this is what we are going to test and check whether this particular find by department name is going to run correctly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have that, and I'm going to say should find department by department name. So I'm going just to say this one is going to refactor a little bit, should find department should find department by department name. Then the second other case scenario which we are going to do is that we are going to ensure that we are not able to get any particular department back. Should not find, all right, department by name. Now to get started, we need now to ensure that we have our customer, our department repository here, which is going to be private department repository that way. Then remember, this is a bin that is coming from the other application. It's a repository. You can be able to auto-wire, make use of at auto-wired. All right. So I'm going to have this as auto-wired. Right. As you can see, this one is now used to have this particular exposed as a bin, and we can be able now to make use of it within the application. Now what we're going to do is that we are going to ensure that for every request that we are going to do for these two case scenarios, we are going to have another helper method which is going to save the data, and at the same time we'll be able to delete after each particular test. So I'm going to have before each. So I'm going to make use of before each. Then I'm going to do void setup. So I'm going to setup, and then this one we are going to make use of the repository. So I'm going to create a simple department request to db department builder department name. I'm going to have this one as computer science. All right, then build. Okay, that's my first department. So I'm going to introduce this one to a local variable, all right, which is going to be the department. Okay, now the end result is going to be I need now to save this particular entity at the initial start of my particular tests, and in this so doing we are going to do repository. So it is going to be department repository dot save, and then we are going to save the department. Right, now that's the first thing that we're going to do. Now after that, whenever we start this particular test, it's going to create this particular department and have it within the database before it runs the test. So the next thing that we're going to do is going to be after each test, after each method test, which is going to be after each, we are going to ensure that we are able to tear down. So this is going to be void tear down, and then this one is going to remove the resources from the database, and we're going to say department repository dot, going to make use of dot delete all. So that means we clean the database table for the next test. Now let's see, whenever after doing that, we're going to make use of the TDD kind of way in terms of referencing this one. All right, now to have this, we're going to do given. All right, and then from there, whenever we do something, then confirm something. So this is given the preconditions, then the action, and then the result. All right, so we're going to say given we don't have this one. Ideally, if we were to separate, to bring that one down here, we should have done copy and paste it here, given the department, and we save. And then when we do what, the department repository dot find by department name, and I'm going to search by department name of and in this case you're going to search for computer science, the one that we just created. All right, computer science. All right, so whenever we do this, we are going to assign this one into a variable. So we can introduce a local variable here, which is going to be that. So by department name. All right, now this is the optional we're going to get. Now we need to do assertions. Now we are going to say, we are going to confirm that. So we are going to confirm that the by department name, all right, then we are going to confirm that is present. All right, so we are going to check and ensure that this one is actually present. Now the next thing we are going to do is ideally do the same thing for should not find by department name. So I'm going to copy that down here, and you can see that with that we are going to search by a different name. All right, so let's say I want to search by information technology. All right, and then this one, if we do is present, then it means that we need to fail this particular test. But then what you're going to do, we are going to say is not present. That means because whatever that you're going to insert before the test runs is going to be this computer science. All right, now whenever we are searching, then we should be able to find it if we use the same department name. But then now for this one, information technology is not created, so that means it won't be there within the database. Now let's run the two tests individually. So I'm going to run the first one. So we can check on the debug console here. You can see started MySQL Docker, and it's waiting for the database connection to be up. All right. Okay, so if you are running this one for the first time, it will take time to download the Docker image for MySQL to your local Docker. And then you can see that it is created the table, and then from there you can see that it is done the insertion, and then from there you can see that did select the value, and then you can see that we selected by that department name, and ideally that is the first test. As you can see, our first test is actually what? It's actually green. All right, and it's checked. Now let's do the other one. We are going to run the second one, the second test. So you can come here to the debug console again, and you can see if you are running it individually, then it has to take some time. But then we are ensuring that we are running whenever we are running test for the entire class. So that is how you need to manage the different test methods and ensure that the required data is actually generated beforehand for each particular test. Okay, right, so you can see that it tries kind of starting the application, but then it just bootstraps only the persistence layer, and you can see that it reads the entity class and then does that. So you can see that it did insert the DB, and then you can see that we had this particular departments, right? We selected with that department, and you can see that we didn't find anything, and that is why our test remains as green, right, and checked. Now let's run this entire class with coverage. So I'm going just to run this one with coverage. You'll be able to see how that particular test is going to run concurrently in parallel, or one after the other. All right. So it's connected, established the operating system, Docker desktop, and starting the database. All right, so you can see that our test will be able to run. So the start of the application is done, so you can see that you're able to start that. And then now from here you can see that we inserted the department, we selected where the name is going to be that, and then you can see that after all we did the second test and we ended up shutting down the database. So that's all that the service class is going to do. Now the next thing that you need to see is going to be within the department repository. I think I had closed the so that is the test, end-to-end test of this particular function. So that marks the end of testing the repository. So in the next session we'll be testing the service layer, and we'll be able to mock the department repository or the behavior of the department repository, and we'll be able to be good to go to do the integration test. Remember to subscribe, and in case you have a question in terms of how this is done, kindly write your comments on the video description or the video below, and remember to share, subscribe, and like the video for us to get more viewers to learn the same concepts. Thank you, and bye bye for now.